How much should the offense change compared to what was here last year?
I think you're always looking to tweak little things and do things a little bit different. But, like I said last spring, the nuts and bolts of everything is going to be the same, but we're always looking for ways to do things a little different and do things a little better.
Are you looking to the quarterbacks, whichever one you're leaning toward, to kind of dictate what routes work, what play calls work? Is that up to them at all?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I think you're always trying to fit what you do best with your personnel and what they do best. And we're multiple enough that we're able to do enough things that whatever a guy does well, especially at the quarterback position, we're gonna navigate that direction.
Go ahead.
Do you look at like their skill set as far as maybe the guy that's ahead has upside, or he has total grasp of the playbook, or what are the parameters there for who would
Of evaluating them?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a daily thing. I think, obviously when you look at Deuce and Riley, Riley has more game experience. Deuce has more experience in our offense. So, it's kind of an interesting dynamic that way. I think Riley's definitely, between the spring and summer, gotten a lot more comfortable with what we're doing. And Deuce is healthy and looks good. So it's going to be a fun couple weeks here to figure it out.
You have a really competitive wide receiver group. How do you go about sorting through to see who emerges above other people? What are the things that you're looking for that maybe we won't see?
Really the three things we've been talking about offensively, especially are effort, focus, and discipline. Those things, and doing it snap after snap. And if so the evaluation process really comes down to those three things, not just at the wide receiver position, but throughout the whole offense. And sometimes it's hard to train a guy and make a guy understand that if they can just do those three things on the next snap, that gives you your best chance. Once you start thinking about 3 plays ago or the fourth quarter or next week, then you don't have a chance to be your best.
I'm sure you rely on a lot of your veteran players to help you in some of that as well, right?
No doubt. I think Pink coming back and Keyshawn coming back and obviously Kalijah. I mean, those three guys, since they made the decision to come back, have had a plan the whole time for what they wanted to look like this year. And obviously, everybody looks to them. And so when they're doing those three things, I think it obviously is contagious to the rest of the team. Since
you do have those skill guys, is the quarterback's job almost a distributor? Is that the best way to look at it?
A little bit. I think, obviously, when I look at the quarterback position, you got, ball security is the number one thing. You got to possess the ball. You got to be able to execute the offense, which is kind of what you're talking about. But the guys that kind of separate themselves are the ones that can make plays on their own a little bit too. Whether it's something with their feet, something with their mind as far as making a check or doing something at the line of scrimmage. And really, that's where I think sometimes the great and good can kind of separate themselves in that regard.
Keyshawn's carries sometimes were a little bit low last year, especially the first half of the season. Injuries with some of that. Also, pass blocking, maybe pass protection. Has he added things to his game that you think will keep him on the field more this year?
Yeah, I think probably the number one thing is just what he's done with Coach Dobson and here in the weight room. I think he had, they had a great plan again with a kind of an elite group of guys physically, and just him right now physically where he is, I think is going to allow him to stay on the field. And he's, I think, taken some of those things that he heard, well, maybe he can't pass block, maybe he can't do some of this, and said, okay, I'm gonna show people this year what I can do in that area. And I think him and Jamari both are greatly improved in that area of their game.
One or two more questions.
You spent the spring moving guys around on offensive line, playing some guys, some at guard, some at tackle. Some of that was injuries, some of that was just generic spring practice stuff. when we've seen practice, guys seem more fixed in spots. Is there a little less experimentation right now than, say, there was in spring?
Yeah, a little bit. I think what we're trying to do is, build some chemistry with the group up front. We'd love to find, 8 guys that we really feel good about, that we could interchange. And there's still maybe a couple guys that play some guard and play tackle, or play some guard and play center, to kind of mix around a little bit. But really the number one thing you're trying to do is find your best 5 guys and get them on the field. So, there'll still be a little experimenting with that, but you'd like to get those guys locked into the position that they're going to play and the guy they're going to play next to, so they can start developing that cohesion and chemistry that they need.
What will determine if you guys use tempo more this year? Is it quarterback's comfort level? Is it the opponent?
I think a little bit of both. I think it's definitely something we talk about, and it's in our system, and something that kind of, depending on maybe the game, how the game's going, there's a lot of different factors I think that could go into that, depending on how much we use that.
Back to the offensive line for a second. Devin has got a lot of experience in the tackle. Sage has got a lot of experience in guard. From center over going right, it's a lot greener. How do you feel about the state of things at those 3 spots right now?
It's still a learning process for some of these guys. I think Grant Miller has made a lot of strides at center. He's still in some competition with Dan Dawkins and Sean McMorrow, who's kind of been a swing guy a little bit for us. The thing I like about those guys is I do think that, the athleticism and the strength of all those guys is, at the same, or maybe even a little better than maybe what we played at different spots last year. Obviously Justin was a great player, and, we're going to miss him, no doubt. But I think, just the athleticism of some of these guys, they have to overcome the inexperience with that, especially at the beginning. But hopefully they can come together and be a good group.
Gerry, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys.